So we welcome, if this is your first time back since the pandemic began, we welcome you back tonight. If you're part of our virtual congregation, we welcome all of you who are watching. And this is the Mass, as I mentioned last week, that will stream all weekend. We'll tape it tonight. We're streaming it now, and it'll go out. So periodically there's a glitch. I saw my junior associate somewhere in the editing platform up there making noise, trying to ruin my... He might come in on the homily now with a loud noise. That's my only fear here. Jealousy is a terrible thing. So Jesus, well, let me go back. Statues have fallen on hard times in our country. And, you know, they've been pulling down statues for a whole lot of reasons, a lot of good reasons, some of them. And I, for one, when I'm in a new area, in a new country, traveling, and I see a statue in the middle of town, I like to go up and see what's this worthy doing up here? What has this person done? And usually there's a little description at the base that tells you a little about it. And I kind of like history and geography and events, and I get a big kick out of that. Well, one of the best statues I've ever seen in my life, and certainly probably the most unique, is in a little town in southeast Alabama. It's very close to the panhandle of Florida, and it's a town called Enterprise, Alabama. And has anybody been there to this place? Anybody been to Enterprise? A little out of the way town. You pull into town, and there's a statue of an insect in the middle of the town. And I went up and read it. It's the Mexican boll weevil. And evidently, at the end of the very end of the 19th century, the boll weevil came up from Mexico, and what did it do? It feasted on the cotton crop, and cotton was king. And it ate half the crop that year, and it caused all the residents of that area of Alabama to pivot, and they started to diversify. You know, those of you with a portfolio get it, but they started to plant potatoes and corn and peanuts, especially peanuts. And because of their newfound prosperity, all this farming area erected this statue to the boll weevil as a blessing in disguise. You know, instead of despairing, they pivoted, and what a moment it is. So they've got this insect in the middle of their town up on a statue, kind of a neat thing. In that same vein, you heard the story that I just read tonight, the gospel. And Jesus is talking to his troops, and he's explaining a very ambiguous situation. And he says, you'll be faced with a lot of ambiguous situations. And he says, you got to be patient, you got to be tolerant, and wait until the end, and then we'll see what happens. So the moral of the story is clearly good and evil are not always neatly separated. And we know that. I mean, if you're a mature person, you know that life isn't all black and white. I wish it were, but it isn't. And certainly in our age, the mature person has to have a tolerance for ambiguity. And Jesus is talking to his troops about that ambiguity. And he's saying clearly, in all of us, you know, it's not clear. We've got our weedy patches in all of us, and even in the worst of us, there's some fine wheat. And he's pleading patience, tolerance, and at the end of the day, the divine master, in this case, the divine farmer, is most of all a God of mercy. Thank God.